In preparation to this service, I read a very interesting analogy. They say that religion is a lot like a Wi-Fi. It's invisible and it connects you to something beyond yourself. But if you stand in the wrong spot or use the wrong provider, you might not get any signal. One of my favorite films is this, God on Trial. Not yet, Rashi. God on Trial. In it, the group of Jewish concentration camp prisoners organize a court hearing, accusing God of breaking the covenant with the Jewish people. And they arrive at a scary conclusion. They declare God guilty. There is something contradictory and paradoxical about God and religion. Many people struggle with it, yet it serves an important purpose. So today, I would like to talk about the role and purpose of Judaism, and by extension, religion in general. Why being Jewish in today's world? What role, if any, does religion play in society? And perhaps most importantly, will the world lose anything if religion disappears? So Parashat Bamidbar begins the story of the Israelites' 40-year journey through the wilderness. What do they do first? As we just heard, they organize a census. Before setting out on a long journey in the desert, they started by counting the number of men over 20 years old. The most common explanation why they needed the census is that they counted those who could serve in the army and fight in future battles. However, over time, the commentary section of this passage became an exciting and fascinating compendium of theology. In essence, each commentary is really a part of a much wider conversation, the role and purpose of religion. Today, we are going to go through a museum of theology. We're going to study 3 commentaries about this passage and see what the rabbis in the past thought about the purpose of religion. The first explanation comes from the French medieval commentator Rabbis, as again I alluded to previously. He said that we count things and people will love, and by doing so we show them appreciation. We look after things we love, we count them and put them in order. William James was an American philosopher and psychologist. He often called the father of American psychology. He described the essence of religion as the belief in an unseen order and the idea that our potential for good lies in accepting and aligning ourselves with it. There's something beautiful in the way how our humanity, our world is structured. We know that there will come night in about 10 hours or a bit more. We know that after summer there will be autumn and winter. The world has certain order, and the best way to live is by submission to this wider order. That's his view. Coming back to the Torah, at that moment in the story, the Israelites don't know the future, what the future will bring. They don't know how long the journey will take. I mean, we know because we've read the Torah, but they don't. And it is this sense of creating order and mutual support that I think is important in this passage. When the future is uncertain, you need something stable to serve you as anchor, holding you in place during storms of life. So the first purpose of a religious community is to give this sense of order in times of uncertainty and need. I think all of us can say that we are generations of many, many uncertainties. Would you believe if even 10, 15 or 20 years ago someone told you that you would have to live through the world pandemic, then the war in Europe would begin, and then the biggest terrorist attack on Israel would happen, and the subsequent series of wars in the Middle East, And then the rapid rise of anti-Semitism combined with the cost of living crisis and political uncertainty. And all of this happened over the last 6 years. Life is unpredictable. Life is uncertain. So we need something to give us a sense of stability, and religion can provide it. We've been around for long enough to have anchors, to have roots. The second commentary comes from Ramban, Nachmanides, a leading Jewish scholar who lived in the 12th century Spain and had a different understanding of the census. He explains that it illustrates the Torah's warning against relying on miracles. People must fight for what they believe is right, he says. It will not be handed to them by a miracle anymore. In other words, the census is a means of organizing and empowering people. How do you empower people and remind them of their worth? Nachmanides says that Moses conducted the census in a special manner. And we heard it in the Divrei Torah. Instead of just numbering people, those taking the pool were instructed by Moses to do so in a manner that will give honor and importance to each person. Every single person appeared before Moses, and that gave them the sense of worth. Nechama Leibovitz explained this point in the following way. She said, ideologies often subject the individual to the mass and see the individual as a cog in the machine of the state, assuming that if one human being is destroyed, there is always another one to take his place. Instead, Leibovitz continues, Nachmanides emphasizes that the census was personal and individual, impressing on us the value and critical worth of each and every soul, which is unique creation of God and a world of its own. So another role of religion is to remind people of the importance of each human life. Ideologies, political beliefs, or religious practices must never be prioritized over the value of human life. Every soul, every person is a unique creation of God and a world of its own. The third explanation comes from the 19th century Germany. Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch argues that the census was about the sense of belonging to something larger than just one individual. When ancient Israelites recorded their names in the census, they included their family name, tribe, and other details of their belonging. The census, therefore, is about belonging to something bigger than yourselves. Sometimes it takes courage and inner conviction to put yourself on the list as belonging to something, be it an affiliation to religion or any other group. Simple yes or no questions in the census help us to strengthen family, religious, social, political, and economic bonds and to secure the future. So Hirsch concludes that every member of the family is counted by name so that each one joins the whole, conscious of the importance of his belonging. In a world increasingly disillusioned with big ideas, many people choose to care only for their family and close friends. And this idea that the entire world can be just, fair, and happy for all people, I think seems distant and utopian for many. The task of religion, therefore, is to increase the circle of responsibility as wide as possible. Our task is to believe that a fair and just world is possible, even though many others lost this belief. Our task is to believe when others has given up. It is to provide stability, order, and continuity in turbulent times, even when others create disorder. It is to emphasize the importance of value of human life, even during wars. And finally, our task is to remind people that we are all connected, and our task is to build bridges even when others build walls. For some, this vision, this purpose, seems distant and unachievable today. Perhaps, but we can at least try to make a small step towards it. The film God on Trial ends with a genius ending. What do they do after the verdict is pronounced? What do they do after they say that God is guilty? They go and pray. So let us do exactly that.